A very good afternoon to one and all. On behalf of IlluminatiX, the media and PR cell of XIMB XUB, we warmly welcome our esteemed panel of speakers, faculty members, guests, and our fellow students to the third edition of Communique, the media conclave of Xavier Institute of Management, Xavier University, Bhubaneswar. The theme for Communique 2016 is Ethics in Media, the thin line between reporting and influencing. We seek to examine some of these challenges, try and raise some pertinent questions, and hopefully find a few answers.
Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to introduce you to our first speaker for today, Mr. Vishnu Shom. Sir, we request you to please come up on stage and take your seat.
For our next speaker, we feel immense pleasure in welcoming Mr. A.S. Paneerselvan. Sir, we request you to join Mr. Vishnu Shom on stage.
Our third speaker is Mr. Vikrant Shanbar, who is the CEO and founder of XIMB Media Private Limited. We welcome you to the stage, sir.
Our final speaker for the day is Mr. Sujit Mahapatra, the founder and secretary of Bakul Foundation. We request you to kindly grace the stage with your presence, sir.
We are pleased to introduce our moderator for today's discussions, Professor Sasmit Patra, Associate Professor and Associate Dean, International Programs, Xavier University. Sir, we request you to come on stage. We now request our moderator for today's session, Professor Sasmit Patra, to conduct proceedings. Thank you.
Thank you, friends. A warm welcome to you for the conclave on the issues of media, ethics in media this afternoon. I take this opportunity to welcome the esteemed guests who are with us on the panel today. So without much ado, I'd like to again welcome all the panelists with a large round of applause for them for their presence. Thank you so much for India. May I now take this opportunity to request Mr. A.S. Paneerselvan, who is the reader's editor of The Hindu, to kindly provide his views for a period of 15 minutes. 15 minutes have been allotted for each panelist. And after the 15 minutes we go through, then we will have a panel discussion and a Q&A session for about 40 minutes. Mr. Paneerselvan, please. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Thank you very much for inviting me, and it's a privilege to talk among the business graduates of this country. And since you guys are going to be managing our industry also, that is the media industry, I thought it's very, very important to look at certain specific rules which governs the industry rather than generalities. The first thing I would like to talk about is the distinction between the crisis in the media industry versus the crisis in journalism as such. If I make this distinction between the crisis in media industry and crisis in journalism, and first let's look at the crisis in media. There are problems in media. Therefore, media is not different from others in that sense. Once we recognize there are problems within the media, how are we going to address it? And that's where I think my office becomes one of the nice examples to have happened, because it was started in 2006 by the board of Kasturi and Sons, which was a Hindu, to have a self-regulation mechanism embedded within the organization. Therefore, the board of Kasturi and Sons, which was Hindu, decided to start this institution called Reader's Editor. It is modeled on the Reader's Editor Garden, and it decided to insulate this from the editorial process.
May I now request Mr. Vikrant Shanbag, who is the CEO and founder, XIMB Media Private Limited, to kindly speak to the students, please. Thank you.
Hello. First of all, I'd like to thank faculty for inviting me over, so I have an opportunity to present this topic in front of such talented young minds. For those who don't know me, I am Vikrant Shanbag. I have learned digital marketing from last 6 years in this industry. Content marketing and influencer marketing is the most frowned upon kind of marketing based on ethics, and we do both. So I'm not the best person you can learn ethics from, but I can tell you what's wrong with the industry and why is it that way. To make it simpler, I divided it. So yes, we do it under the pressure of getting traffic to the website. It's more like a rat race where if we don't do it, a competitor will do it. So rather, we do it and get the traffic to our website. That brings us to a conclusion. Yes, media houses definitely have some social responsibilities and should follow certain ethics by reporting. Nonetheless, users as consumers to these reports should have a level of self-iteration to be or not to be influenced by these reports. It's a dual responsibility. Whether we influence you, we try not to, you have to check the authenticity of the news. You have to do a background check before you get influenced by that report. Thank you so much.
Many of us have liked posts, our friends know that we like it, but we have actually not read the entire thing. How many of us have shared content without actually completely going through it? There is no time for the information to seep in. We see something, we instantly connect with it, and out we are. A debate happening within the top management of Facebook about whether they should influence the US elections. And what is the debate about? Now apparently, Facebook had done a little, the experts like Vikrant can say better, had done a little experiment during the last elections where it was proven that they could influence voting behavior. I suddenly connected, I remember the last elections. Now I have close to 5,000 friends on Facebook. Now there are many thousands of friends जिनका obviously कभी दिखता नहीं है, उनका post कभी दिखता नहीं है. But suddenly during that time, I saw that anyone who has voted and had shown their finger, it actually showed. And that motivated people to vote. And now Facebook was debating whether they should tweak their algorithm to influence people to vote against Trump. The fact that they can debate about it is something that I think we need to think about. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sujit. May I now request Mr. Vishnu Som, the editor and principal anchor of NDTV, to kindly address the audience.
Thank you, everyone. It's great to be here and speaking to students and so many people over here who will be decision makers, if you aren't already decision makers, not just in the areas where you eventually work, but online, on social media. Several of you will appear in the media as people who are excellent in what you have achieved, and I think a lot of that has to do with where you study. I don't often like to come and speak about general media themes. I like to stick to my areas of interest and domain expertise. But the reason I have chosen to actually come over here is because I find that this particular subject today, the thin line between reporting and influencing, is something that affects my entire industry, and it certainly affects the institution that I am part of. But let me tell you what I am. I am a secular, arctard, liptard, Congresi prostitute. I am anti-national and therefore I am pro-Pakistani. I would urge all of you to use your minds before you tweet, to think about what you retweet, to allow others the right to have their opinion, to recognize that there is not only one point of view, and to realize that criticism is not necessarily something it is bad. We value our independence, we value our freedom of speech. We need to value the right of people all around us to do what we want to do.
Thank you, teacher. Really, it was really nice listening to all the four speakers on varied aspects of insights about media. Now, we come to a section which would be a panel discussion come a question and answer session.
Good afternoon to all the panelists. I am Pratiksha Meher, and my question is, you talked about that media does make mistakes sometimes, and it is a medium which binds a large population and it caters to a large set of people, and as an educated mass, we should do some kind of self-iteration, and but the fact is that not everyone, not a large population is educated. Even in the educated mass, the level of awareness of the news or going depth to a news is not that high. So, shouldn't the accountability on the account of media be high in this matter? And it should, rather than when they are sensationalizing a news, they should carry some accountability.
Well, I would like to add to that. Definitely we have responsibilities, but as I mentioned earlier, in digital we don't have the luxury of actually, taking our reporter out there, checking on the news. Let's say newspaper, when you read a newspaper, like at morning, at evening, a news channel, you watch it at 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock. How often do you check your Facebook? Right now, some of you might be checking your Facebook. Every 15 to 20 minutes. Every 15 to 20 minutes you check your Facebook. We have to get the news out there to you in that 15 to 20 minutes. So at times we do make mistakes, we can't cross-check, we can't, check whether the news is right or not. But whenever we make mistakes, we always come back and say the news was wrong. At times, the second part might not go out to as many readers as the first part did. It is purely based on the algorithm of Facebook. If people don't engage, it doesn't go down. So when I made a sensational news about a guy molesting a girl, a lot of people shared it, a lot of people liked it. But when I came with an apology that the news was wrong, not much people shared it.
I'll just add here, is it audible? Yeah. Of course, when it comes to mainstream media houses, the responsibility is higher. But when we're talking about social media, as Vikrant said, when we are sharing, I'm sure all of us have experienced stuff that either we have shared or people have shared with us on WhatsApp or Facebook, and then someone else has reported it's a spam or it's a hoax. It's happened to us all the time. I mean, when the Nepal earthquake happened, and what happens is, let's face it, we like to see the high and mighty fall. That is the reason tragedies were always a good recipe for popularity in drama. Because tragedy is always about the high and mighty falling. So we love to see that. We love to see these people because we have become very cynical. So at that point, when we are sharing stuff which has come to us, I think at some stage, I know it's asking for a lot because we can't verify, but if we can't verify, then let's not perpetrate the hate, without really knowing much about it.
Something to do with NDTV. Tomorrow there might be some other person, they just have to keep on tweeting, that's their business, they earn out of it. That's how they make money. So, right now, one channel has been targeted. Wait for 6 months, there will be someone else. We will forget about this and then after 6 months there will be someone else. So, that's if you see that business, nothing else.
A large round of applause for our panelists. Thank you. It was really, it was so exciting, it was so insightful, getting a cross-functional view of media and various aspects of it. We were so thankful to our panelists. And just to conclude, I'd just like to look at some points which I was just kind of noting in as we went ahead. What Mr. Parisarvan said, about the carriers and technology, the cost of news, about verification, cover pricing versus advertising, censorship and regulations, about mechanisms and the independent ombudsman. Going on, Vikrant talked about the influencer marketing, the reporting, the CSR pyramids, the subjectiveness of ethics, the featured content and taglines, the regulations, the digital media's reporting and authenticity, social responsibilities. Sujit talked about the trust deficit in the social sector, and then the media reporting and influence, the manipulation of media reporting at times. Going on to talk about the trust deficit with the media now, the crony media capitalism, about sales ad revenues. Vishnu talked about the false binaries in social media, the reflection and thinking before tweeting, retweeting, about welcoming independence of opinion and expression, which may not be ours, about the electronic media and its importance, tabloidization of electronic media, then sensationalizing, and he talked about excellent points that he made in terms of his experiences at the line of control. He talked about the tsunami, the Jungli Jarawa issue and how it was actually brought up, and the City Walk Mall, and talked about the tabloidization, his references to the Times Now and the TRP and BARC and the money power of TRPs. So this has been an extremely insightful session, and we've gained a lot. Personally for me, it has been a great insight, and I really thank all of them for being here.